wherever you're watching us on this Bank Holiday Monday, to European football expert Kevin Hatchard and, of course, to Mark McAdam. We start, though, with developments at Arsenal this lunchtime. They're also exploring a deal to sign Bayer Leverkusen defender Piero Hincapié, despite spending plenty of money already in this transfer window. Although Arsenal's focus remains on departures, they're working to be in a position to act on the left-sided centre-back. Mark, can you fill us in on all the details? Because this broke in the last hour or so.
Yeah, this could be another significant signing for Mikel Arteta over the course of this window. Arsenal fans saying, defender? What, another one? He loves signing defenders, although they're obviously in a much healthier position with regards to strikers, wingers, attack-minded midfielders. So actually, Arsenal fans will be a little bit more relaxed when money is being spent in this situation. And again, it could be significant investment as well, because Sky Germany are reporting the player, who's 23 years old at Leverkusen, has a release clause of 60 million euros, which is around 52 million pounds. So it's obviously going to be a sizable deal to get done. Doesn't mean that's what Arsenal are going to pay, but that's the starting point really for any conversation. Well, you might want to pay 30 or 40, but actually his release clause is 60 million euros. So therefore, we're going to want to get as close to that as possible. The thing that is currently on Arsenal's side is the fact the player has made it quite clear that he wants to join a Premier League club, and Arsenal is his destination of choice. So, yeah, one to keep an eye on. We know that Arsenal are in the market for left-sided central defenders, of which he is one. He brings versatility as well, but absolutely a player that Arsenal are targeting on this Monday morning with, a week to go.
Kevin, how good is he? And would you be surprised if Bayer Leverkusen let him go, considering the number of players that Erik ten Hag has seen depart the football club this summer?
Well, they don't have much choice if somebody does match that release clause. I know Mark's saying about an element of negotiation, but actually, if you look at what he's achieved already and the amount of experience he has, I think Leverkusen are justified in sticking to that release clause if they do, because this is a player that was a key part of Xabi Alonso's team in terms of winning the double in Germany. He can play centre-back, but he can also play left-back, and what he often does is he plays both, because if you look at the way that Xabi Alonso's teams tended to work, what you'd have is that Hincapié would come in from that left-hand side and you'd see Jeremy Frimpong fly up that side. Hincapié would lock down the left while Alex Grimaldo moved into midfield. So he's very tactically aware, he's a very smart player, super aggressive as well. I think he could deal with the physicality in the Premier League. I think it's an excellent signing, and this is a real market opportunity for Premier League clubs.
Are you surprised that Arsenal would be looking to sign him in this transfer window, considering what they've done over the last few transfer windows, building so much depth in that squad when it comes to every area of the pitch? If Ben White's injured, Timber comes in. If Miles Lewis-Skelly's not playing, you've got Calafiori there, and you've got the two centre-backs there. Christian Mosquera's come in this summer. But as you say, does this represent a market opportunity that a club like Arsenal simply can't turn down?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And what knocked them over last season? Injuries. We've already seen Ødegaard had a knock at the weekend, Saka had a knock at the weekend. Obviously, that's in an attacking sense. But you need that depth in all areas. What Hincapié does is he covers two positions. We know Mikel Arteta loves that. And because of that tactical nous that he has, and he's worked under Xabi Alonso, I think he'd be able to adapt quickly to the kind of football that Arteta wants to play. So I can absolutely understand why Arsenal will go for him. Can understand why a lot of Premier League clubs might be interested, to be honest.
And there's been reports that Spurs have an interest in signing the player. Mark, would you be surprised if Arsenal bring in another defender this summer? Clearly, there may be a need to move some of the other defenders on if they're to try to get this deal done.
Would it surprise me? No. I think Kevin touched upon it there. The need for strength in depth is key, particularly with the pace that the Premier League and the intensity is played at. These managers want depth in their squad. They want players that can rotate. They want to think about going to the latter stages of the cup competitions. The Champions League, in its extended format, now has 8 matches as a minimum. In the group stages, it could be 12, 14, 16, depending on how far you progress in the competition. On top of the Premier League, the League Cup and the FA Cup, you know, even a squad player is probably going to start 20, 25 games a season, based on a club like Arsenal that are going to play between 55 and 60 games if their season goes to plan. So you do need quality. He fits the profile of what Arsenal like to do. They like those players that are between the age of sort of 20 and 24, where they can mould, develop, improve, and then they still have that high resale value. And James, you rightly touched upon potential outgoings at Arsenal. There will be a number. They've got their kind of business done in the right way. The clubs that are run sensibly and effectively like to sign the players they want, get the targets in through the door, and then use the latter stages of the window to shift players on. You know, there's talk about Gabriel Jesus, Alexander Zinchenko, Kiwior, Reece Nelson potentially to Fulham as well. So there is going to be some money generated. And market opportunity is another word you use, which I feel like is probably something that a lot of those clubs in the higher echelons of the Premier League like to use as well. Is this the right player for the right price? Because if it is, then we'll seize that opportunity and we can do that. And it very much feels like Arsenal are in that position at the moment.
I think there's an important point about his development as well, because if you look at him, when he came in to Bayer Leverkusen, they took a bit of a punt on him to some extent because they've been so impressed with him at international level, they thought we've got to move because other clubs are going to get him. So they brought him in. Was he the finished article? Absolutely not. He was raw, he would make mistakes, he would give away penalties, he'd get sent off. But actually, he's really tidied up his game. Just another point, after the game against Hoffenheim at the weekend, which Leverkusen lost, he was in tears, which suggests to me he felt that could be his final game for Leverkusen.
Would he fit into Arsenal's starting 11, do you think, straight away? And if he doesn't, would this be a project that appeals to him? Because his last 4 seasons in the Bundesliga, he's been a regular starter for a side that has won the Bundesliga and came so close to winning the Europa League as well.
I think Mark's point about squad strength is a really good one, and the fact that you've got 8 Champions League games minimum, and because he can cover left-back and centre-back, then I think he would back himself to do that. I don't think he'd necessarily be looking at Gabriel and Saliba. They're probably the best centre-back pairing in the world. I think he'd be looking at that left-hand side because Lewis Skelly might end up playing in midfield in the long run. And I think he'd back himself to get in ahead of Calafiori in the long run, maybe. Again, like Calafiori, versatile. I think he'd back himself to be a big part of what Arsenal can do this season. OK, we wait to see what happens with Arsenal's signing.
Arsenal have intensified their pursuit of Piero Hincapié from Bayer Leverkusen, as the North London club seeks to reinforce its defensive options ahead of the new season. The Ecuadorian centre-back, who has been a standout performer in the Bundesliga, has emerged as a top target for Mikel Arteta, whose ambition to build a title-contending squad has placed particular emphasis on strengthening the backline. Although negotiations between the clubs are ongoing, sources close to the player suggest that Arsenal are confident of securing a deal, especially as Hincapié's profile fits seamlessly into the tactical blueprint Arteta envisions for his evolving side. What significantly boosts Arsenal's chances in the race is Hincapié's personal stance, as he has reportedly expressed a strong desire to move to the Premier League, identifying Arsenal as his preferred destination. This willingness to join the Gunners could prove pivotal in swaying the outcome of the transfer, particularly if competing interest from other European clubs intensifies. While Bayer Leverkusen remain reluctant to part ways with one of their most promising talents, Arsenal's determination, combined with the player's openness to the move, could accelerate the process, potentially making this one of the defining signings of their summer window.